Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and green forests, there lived a renowned teacher named Pandit Rajaram. He was known far and wide as the wisest man in the entire region. People said he possessed knowledge that could unlock the secrets of the universe, heal the sick, and bring prosperity to anyone who learned from him. Pandit Rajaram lived in a grand house at the edge of the village. His walls were lined with ancient scrolls and precious books that he had collected over his lifetime. Every day, wealthy families from distant lands would arrive at his doorstep, offering bags of gold and silver, begging him to teach their children. But Pandit Rajaram always refused. "Knowledge is power," he would say, stroking his long white beard. "And power must be protected, not given away freely." The only student Pandit Rajaram ever accepted was his own son, Arjun. Every morning, he would take Arjun into his private study and share one tiny piece of his vast knowledge. But even with his own son, Pandit Rajaram was cautious. He never revealed everything he knew, always holding back the most valuable lessons. "One day, all this will be yours," Pandit Rajaram told Arjun. "But you must promise never to share what I teach you with anyone else. Knowledge shared is knowledge lost." Arjun nodded obediently, though his young heart felt troubled by his father's words. Years passed, and Arjun grew into a young man. He watched as desperate villagers came to his father's door. He saw farmers whose crops were failing, asking for advice. He witnessed mothers carrying sick children, pleading for healing remedies. He heard young people begging for education that might lift them from poverty. And every time, Pandit Rajaram turned them away. "I have worked too hard to gain this knowledge," he would explain to his son. "Why should I give it to those who have done nothing to earn it?" One harsh winter, a terrible illness swept through the village. People fell sick by the dozens. The village Vaidya tried everything he knew, but nothing worked. Families wept as they lost their loved ones. A group of desperate villagers gathered outside Pandit Rajaram's house. "Please," they cried, "we know you have ancient healing knowledge in your books. Our children are dying. Help us." Pandit Rajaram appeared at his window, looking down at the suffering crowd. For a moment, Arjun thought he saw a flicker of compassion in his father's eyes, but then the old teacher's face hardened. "I cannot help you," Pandit Rajaram announced coldly. "If I cure you now, you will never learn to solve your own problems. Besides, this knowledge took me a lifetime to gather. It is mine alone." The crowd dispersed in despair, and that night, more children died. Arjun could bear it no longer. While his father slept, he crept into the study and copied the healing remedy onto a simple piece of paper. Before dawn, he slipped it under the village Vaidya's door. By the next evening, the medicine had been prepared and distributed. Within days, the sick began to recover. The village rejoiced, and life slowly returned to normal. But Pandit Rajaram discovered what his son had done. "You have betrayed me," he roared, his face purple with rage. "You have stolen my knowledge and given it away like common dirt." "Father," Arjun pleaded, "I saved lives. How can sharing knowledge that helps people be wrong?" "You understand nothing," Pandit Rajaram shouted. "I am sending you away. You are no longer my son. Leave this house and never return." With a broken heart, Arjun gathered his few belongings and left the only home he had ever known. He wandered from village to village, working as a simple laborer. Though he carried his father's teachings in his mind, he began sharing them freely with anyone who needed help. He taught farmers better ways to grow crops. He showed craftsmen improved techniques. He helped children learn to read and write. Everywhere Arjun went, people's lives improved. They blessed him and called him a true guru. One who understood that knowledge grows when shared, not when hoarded. Meanwhile, Pandit Rajaram remained alone in his grand house, surrounded by his precious books and scrolls. He spent his days reading and rereading his collection, taking comfort in possessing what others could not have. But as months turned into years, a strange thing began to happen. Pandit Rajaram started forgetting things. The knowledge he had guarded so jealously began slipping from his mind like water through clenched fingers. He would read a scroll and forget it by evening. Ancient remedies that he had memorized became confused in his head. He grew frustrated and bitter. I must read more, study harder, he told himself. But the more desperately he tried to hold on to his knowledge, the faster it seemed to fade. One day Pandit Rajaram fell seriously ill. He lay in his bed, surrounded by all his books, but too weak to read them. No servants came to help him, for he had always driven people away. No students arrived to care for him, for he had never accepted any. As he lay there, barely conscious, he heard a gentle knock at the door. Footsteps approached his bedside, and through his fevered haze, he recognized his son. "Arjun," he whispered. "You came back?" "Of course, father," Arjun said softly, beginning to prepare a healing remedy. "You are my father. I could never abandon you." As Arjun cared for him through the long days of illness, Pandit Rajaram watched his son work. He saw how naturally the knowledge flowed from Arjun's hands, how confidently he moved, how much he had grown. "How do you remember everything I taught you?" Pandit Rajaram asked weakly. "I can barely recall my own lessons anymore." Arjun smiled gently. "Because I have been teaching others, father. Every time I share what you taught me, it becomes stronger in my own mind. Every time I help someone, I understand the knowledge more deeply. The students I teach ask questions that make me think in new ways. Knowledge doesn't diminish when shared. It multiplies." Pandit Rajaram closed his eyes, and for the first time in his life, he truly understood. By hoarding his knowledge, he had cursed himself. Knowledge locked away grows stale and dies. But knowledge shared becomes alive, growing richer and deeper with each person it touches. When Pandit Rajaram recovered, he did something he had never done before. He opened his doors to anyone who wished to learn. He discovered that teaching brought him more joy than possessing ever had. With each student he helped, his own understanding grew clearer. The knowledge he had feared losing became stronger than ever through the act of sharing it. The village flourished as wisdom flowed freely. Pandit Rajaram's final years were his happiest, surrounded by grateful students and a loving son. Before he died, Pandit Rajaram took Arjun's hand and said, "I spent my life gathering treasures and building walls around them. You have shown me that the greatest treasure is not what we keep, but what we give away. True wisdom is not found in possession, but in generosity." And so the village learned that a teacher who shares their knowledge plants seeds that will grow into forests, while a teacher who hoards their knowledge buries seeds that will never sprout. The greatest curse is not ignorance, but the refusal to share the light of knowledge with others. The story of Pandit Rajaram lived on, reminding generations that we rise by lifting others, and that what we give away returns to us multiplied 1,000-fold.